No shot in the devil's kitchen. If I know my God, know he never misses. Empty dishes, peckish for the sacrilegious. Catch the ictus, heavy nets and back to fishing. Back for dinner, Ramsey with the lamb's blood. Catch me sipping, I'm handy with the brass mug. Get delivered, sacraments are stacked up. Flash with the brass, keep it sandy with the flags on. I heard that being a prophet is an honor, but I'm weaker than my demons. I bet it all on the offering. Word to Leonardo, we ain't starving, man. I'm seasoned with Jesus. If I eat, I'm gobbling all of it. Except that dear departed for the martyrs. Hope the demons never see it. That healing's harder than harboring. I can't ignore my calling. I'm an artist. This is larger than the beef. If I speak, I'm conjuring God in this. Part in the orifice, part of my mouth, caught in the condiments. I'm just a seasoned pawn at the heart of it. I'm not a target. I'm not involved in the politics. I'm just parting the waters. No father wishes to cause, I guess. Blood in the faucets, I fill my cup with it all. I don't need no cutlery, not just a Caesar's cut for the charlatans. Shot in the dark, these haunted halls of pornographists. I'm just carving the consciousness, need the carpenter's promises.
These are the troubles we post these confronting and seeing people's abundance as deep as they discomfort the competent follow like the apostles was dead as loyal. Bitter as custom oil, they digging ditches of soil. How you on your phone, I'm up on the pictures of sound. You can't pick yourself up when reality calls you, it's awkward. Wanna say that you wrong, but I can't fault you. We all gotta cross the bed, Christ if it ain't torture. That's why I'm office, no family, need a Morpheus. I live a nigga in their own pills, dream walking. Holy Trinity, God's the Holy Spirit that talks us. No nutrition, it's Pakistan, 10 fish from the corner. Matriarch broken, the heavy load of opinions not old. You still got time to be petty, outspoken. Smart coffee, we all day in the tropics. You scanning the trending topics, I'm 4K for your optics. I was like Versace with the Robert Marley, John down the Bobby, copying copies, can't outmatch the Bobby. It's Kawasaki versus Mami, I've been after dance the Titans from an African horizon, sunlight rising in. Jokers need a heart open like poets need a barbican. The topics of my heartstrings, non-partisan, they're fraudulent, fraudulent prices, this ain't a lobby friend. Only way out of this shit is an offering.
Hand me my chalice and hand me back in my catacombs. Having me fancy, I'm gathered snacking on abalone. That's abalone, my salad is Adam's knowing. I'm avid for having more than can handle fat in my bag of gold. Catch my Babylon, the lion with you and Babylon. But after 9 I'm 9 in the stoop, but my wine is fuchsia. My body Cavalli is suture, the time is crucial. I'm dining with Brahmins and Buddhists is sign. Sweet Jesus be the reason, all the reason. I sip it through the vibe and see the green ones on the season. I'm casting out these lines, I need to see the feed the people. Imagine all the times I need a piece I got a piece of. Preachers and parables, these are the narratives of the weak and the ravenous. I ain't speaking to Africans. Flatten your talents, we're catching salmon on land and they stacking crabs in the barrel. I'm thanking Adam for sharing. Mecca.
Give thanks, yo. So yeah, ZuluMecca, welcome to the Mecca. You know, it's once again, it's an honor to be on the stage sharing this with you, and also to go through your rap journey. For folks who cannot hear us, please do let me know, or you know, if you cannot hear any of us, do let us know so we project it in louder.
You can turn it up a little.
Okay, I can. All right, we'll do. Right. So this is going to be like a conversation, and at some point also we would invite the audience to also, you know, like come in and then bring in your voice too. But I want to begin by asking, you know, like take us through the journey. Like, how did you get into rap? You know, what was that like? If you can also paint a picture of like, you know, yeah, the neck of the woods of your hood, you know, like show us, you know, how did you come into rap? Yeah.
Okay, firstly, I want to thank everyone for coming. I'm very excited to be here. As mentioned, my name is ZuluMecca. I'm from South Africa. I'm a rapper, I'm an actress, I'm a writer. So, you know, for context, I started my journey with hip hop at a very young age. But professionally, it's only been about 5 years, honestly. But for me to be able to rap at such a high level for the last 5 years, it's that whole foundation of me being introduced to hip hop before I was even 10 years old. So when the world a couple of years back was celebrating 50 years of hip hop, South Africa was celebrating 40 years of hip hop. So I discovered hip hop when I was probably like 7 or 8 years old. And we had our own genres, obviously our own music styles back then. So this thing was so new to me, you know, but I just knew I found it very intriguing, and I like to tell people this. I used to lie a lot as a kid. I used to, just for no reason, just making stuff up at any chance I got. So for me, discovering hip hop, it almost felt like, oh, this is what I'm meant to do. All these lies that I tell, all these stories that I tell, I can just package them in rhyme form, and it's a cool thing to do now, you know? So yeah, I had this neighbor growing up, and he was a teenager at the time, and he used to play hip hop like all day, every day. So I think eventually I just went over to him, and I'm just like, what is this? What's going on here? I've never heard this before. And he would teach me, you know, he would, and I mean, I didn't really know much about the world at that time, being so young, but he would teach me to the best of his ability. And I think from the time I could string together an English sentence, I knew that this is exactly what I wanted to do. So yeah, it's way back then, you know, with Tupac, Rakim, KRS-One, then later on it was like Busta Rhymes. So I got really expressive with my storytelling, and Busta Rhymes I think is great for me because he incorporates character work in his music as well. So that for me also including my acting now I can sort of fuse both at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah, so back in the 90s is when it began. Yeah.
Okay. I find it interesting you talked about how you used to lie, because I know in like other interviews you've talked about, you know, your past. And I mean, you do not encourage people to go looking for, you know, who you were before you became ZuluMecca. But so can you tell us about like ZuluMecca, the name ZuluMecca? How did you finally get into ZuluMecca?
Yeah, so I lied right into my 20s. Didn't stop lying. And then what started to happen spiritually for me was, you know, okay, so for context, I am an initiated spiritual worker. I'm a spiritual healer. And so when you undergo that initiation, at least, you know, in South Africa, there's no room to lie. It's impossible, right? Because what you do is you starve the flesh so that you can feed the spirit, and the more you feed the spirit, the more difficult it is to do things that go against the spirit. So my older music, which is why I don't encourage people to do any kind of research. I used to lie a lot about places I've never been, about cars I don't drive, about parties I don't go to. But for me, that was my interpretation of hip hop, right? It felt like I had to be cool, and I had to be in the club, and I had to drive this car. So that's the music I made. And so when I started my spiritual journey, against my will, mind you, at first, but that's a story for another day. But when I was, you know, compelled to this spiritual journey, which interestingly enough was also at the same time that COVID happened. So lockdown happened. It was 2020. I was turning 30 years old, and the world got quiet. And for me, that felt like the perfect time for me to listen, because nothing else happened. Like all my acting work was pushed back. I wasn't shooting anything. I wasn't able to perform. The world got quiet. We were in lockdown. And for me, that coinciding with the spiritual journey where I have to be quiet as well was great. So that you know, I prayed and I said, everything I've tried to do so far with the music hasn't worked. What do I need to do? And I went to sleep and I dreamt of the name. It came to me, ZuluMecca. So I woke up and I interrogated what that meant. And the word Zulu in the Zulu language means heaven. And the word Mecca, we all know what that means, but it's also like a gathering, you know, of people, of intention. So for me, that was speaking life into my music in the sense that it is a place I want people to gather, but also find some kind of enlightenment, whatever that may mean for them, like one would in heaven. So yeah, that's the origin of the name. I won't tell you my previous aliases. It's bad. It's terrible.
Okay. Speaking of like intentionality, like thinking about this conversation, it took me back to, and I feel like we have to give her like a big shout out. Asata Shako, considering also she passed this year. But there's a quote whereby she says, hip hop can be a very powerful weapon to help expand young people's political and social consciousness. But just as with any weapon, if you don't know how to use it, if you don't know where to point it, or what you are using it for, you can end up shooting yourself in the foot or killing your sister or your brothers. So I'm curious for you, like using hip hop, like one, how do you use it? Two, where do you point it at? And three, what are you using it for?
It's one of those responses is a very selfish response. So when I switched over initially from poetry and being a slam poet to hip hop, I just wanted to be cool, really, because rappers were cool, and so that was it. Like it was very self-serving in the beginning, but upon understanding this responsibility that I had, then I knew that I had to say something. I had to start saying something. And for me and my music, I'm very concerned with the souls of people, right? The body can be whatever you want it to be. The body is easier to change than the soul. So I'm not interested in physical incarnations, right?
Okay.
I'm interested in the thing inside. So I rap a lot about that, particularly, with African spirituality and what that means, and versus religion and what that's done, and the tool of religion, and what religion is in its core as a way to God, and obviously how it's then turned into something else. So that for me feels like my responsibility. It feels like my responsibility to go, what happened before we were here and what happens after we're gone. So that's what I'm really interested in the most. And whatever you believe in, for me, because I'm guided so much by my ancestors and the voices of my ancestors, it shattered so many myths for me, because I'm just like, to have that communication with one's ancestors, direct communication, other realms firstly exist, and also what does it take for that communication to happen, and what can we learn from those other realms. So for me, that feels like my responsibility as a hip hop artist.
Yeah, and that it takes me to. I want us to talk about spirituality even further, but before we do that, well, you mentioned that you're an actress too. So rap and acting, in what ways do they converge for you and also diverge? How do you mix the two?
Acting has always been there as well. Since the beginning, I've been on stage, at school, doing school productions. So it's a very interesting thing for me to be able to portray all these characters, because what does it mean about who I am? Do I know who that is? It took me a very, very long time to be able to learn who that is, and be comfortable with that. I treat them like two children who are very different from one another, but I love them just the same, because at the end of the day, I'm a storyteller, right? And so, the acting part fulfills that part in me that likes to lie, and the music fulfills that part that likes to tell the truth, or the other that has to tell the truth, So yeah, with acting, it's other people's stories. I get the script, I take the character off the page, and I endow it with spirit and breath and voice, and intention. But with my music, it's all me from the time I start writing. It's not nobody else gets to tell me what to do. That's all me. So, but at the end of the day, it's all storytelling.
Okay. Coming back to like spirituality, I want us to take a look at this video of yours. Good God, okay.
Mecca. Good gods of Kemet descend upon your descendants, defend us against the enemy. Verily, yet intended the lesson for your successors who never strengthened the pedigree. Genesis gave you vessels, but never quell all the heresy. Now who gon' say this? White Jesus in the picture frame, or black Jesus in the little maid? Who you praise? White Jesus in the picture frame, or black Jesus? I say either way. We lions in the jungle, if you dying in abundance, don't papaya, poke that open fire, try to beat the sun up, beat the sun up, hung on the cross, suffer for the cause, for the rumble running from the gods, covenant of laws. On the flesh of your chest, got a knife, Smith and West with your vest, on one of fight, son of night, on the cut of life, with the blood of Christ, I'm in light, to the love and light.
And also interestingly, like the audio has another verse that follows, which we did not find in the video. But here I was like interested in, when you say like, who do you pray to? White Jesus in a picture frame, or like
Jesus in a little manger.
in a little manger. I feel like you talk about like spirituality, but at the same time, it's like it feels like who you pray to does not matter here, and then you go on to say, you ain't no lions in the jungle if you die in abundance. And I'm curious about like who you are speaking to here, if you can.
Yeah, so growing up, it might have been like this all over the world, but growing up, there was a picture of Jesus, who they say is Jesus, that was on the wall of probably like every black household, including my own. So my grandmother had this picture of who Jesus was, and of course, you grow up and you grow up in the church. I grew up in the church. You read the Bible, then you look at you read the descriptions of what Jesus looked like, and then you look at this picture and you're like, I'm not making this connection at all. Like that doesn't, one of these is not like the other. So the closer I got to God, the more questions I had. So that's why for me, all these different descriptions, all these different depictions of who Jesus was or was as a human being that existed and is to people right now, I had a lot of questions about that. And you hear people saying their particular religion is the way, and I had a lot of questions about that, because for me it seems like what God did is give everyone, no matter where they are in the world, a way back to source, right? So religion as not a divisive thing, as a thing that we can all use. It's like different pathways, different rivers to the same ocean, so to speak. That's what it feels like religion should have been. So because I always write from a place of experiences that I really had, for me it was the Christianity that I was taught growing up. So yeah, I'm very interested in when people pray in Jesus' name, what does that mean? Who is Jesus to that person, and do they see themselves in Jesus, and do they feel Jesus in them? So I don't write because I claim to have the answers to anything. I don't. I have more questions than answers, so I never write from like a place of I know better than all of you and I'm more spiritually informed. No, I don't. I'm also, having the human experience and having all the doubts and the fears and the questions that anybody else can have.
Yeah, and it makes me think of like angels and ancestors, which feels like you are probing and like questioning and nothing there. But as you were speaking, it also reminded me of like Bantu Biko's, as in from the video Good God, whereby he's speaking to the black ministry and he's like, I would like to remind the black ministry and indeed all black people that God is not in the habit of coming down from heaven to solve people's problems on earth. And this was when he was speaking to the ministry that, and I think for me it takes me back to you saying, who do you pray to? No matter who you pray to, you still, we still have to put in the work. Like it doesn't mean we are like dying in abundance.
Yeah.
So that came to me when I was like going through your work. And I know that in another interview you were critical of like rappers who do not read. You're like, you can't be a rapper and not read. So I'm curious, like, who is on your list? Who are you reading? Which authors do you engage with, and which writers also inspire you?
Yeah, I mean, I love descriptive writers. I love people who paint pictures with their words, right? So some of my favorite books, one of my favorite authors is Ben Okri.
Okay.
He's he's a Nigerian writer. I love Astonishing the Gods, and just that journey that book takes. I also love The God of Small Things by Arundhati Roy. So I love. This is why I get so frustrated with rappers who don't read, because if words are your thing, why are you not consuming as much of that as humanly possible? I know we're all busy and the economy is crazy, but if you're saying that this is the thing that you're sharing with people, it just feels like, a basketball player that doesn't watch basketball videos is and just relies solely on the skill that they have doesn't make sense to me. So even with rappers, I get so frustrated. And people ask me, how do I get to write like you, man? I'm like, what's the last book you read? Ish. And I'm just like, start there. And not in a judgmental way, because like I said, I know we've all got a lot going on, but it feels like it's a basic thing for me. It feels like at the very least, it feels like at the very least you should be consuming on some level, even if it's short stories, even if there's so much that you can gain as a writer. I forgot the question, man. What was your question?
It was about like what books are you reading?
Oh yes, okay, I started there. Okay,
Yeah.
but that's I think I answered that.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, we can flow on. So going into, South Africa is described as the so-called rainbow nation for its like many layers of identity in there. So I'm curious, like, what does it mean to create like hip hop within the so-called rainbow nation? And in this too, like, does your craft, like, does it speak to a particular group of people, or you're hoping that it transcends, these identities and construct that, you have in South Africa?
One of the main criticisms that I've received as an artist is that I only rap in English. And South Africa has 12 official languages. And I'm fluent in, outside of English, I'm fluent in 2 others, which is my mother's language, which is Xhosa, and my father's language is Zulu. But I've been criticized for that. But I was very intentional about that. Then things change, people evolve. But I was very intentional about that because I'm like, the whole world needs to hear what I have to say, right? So I'm gonna make it in I suppose the language that most people, can understand or can access.
So which group, like, is your music intended to speak to any particular group, or you want it to transcend?
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
So, but yes, it's for everybody, because the message that I carry in my spirit and the purpose that I have is for everyone to experience. And maybe that's a very ego-driven thing, but it's okay also sometimes to operate out of ego if I feel like it's for the greater good. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I want us to take a look at another video and some contradictions in there.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, Mecca. Okay, well, even preaching, but would you listen if I move different? If I focused on doing gold, unit sold and dumb it down, would you go? I'm through with illusions that you could get rich through rap. This booming this bad won't get me that. So shoot up producer, they know I ain't leaving this bitch. I'ma need me a hit. In fact, get the label to pay for the day in the lab. The crew will do all the stations with that. Regional fans just won't understand. Fuck it, we'll be on the map. In fact, scores for the awards. Fucking impurities, the work will be yours. And all of them souls are singing nigga. Get a singing nigga on the fuck all that smash shit. Stop beefing these rap bitches. Get off your back. Nigga with the trends and the tabs. Check out his stats. His numbers are matched. Man, I don't understand that his man can worship you. You buy all the tickets and purchase shit. It's worth it, man. It's worth it. Get over yourself. You hurts. Take your pride, let it go. Give me legal at the door. It's the pride, it's the fucking pride. Try to let it go. Take your pride, let it go. Give you legal at the door. It's the pride, it's the fucking pride. Why do you know if you still want to work? Are you the dumbest of people who know? You want independence, the first is efficient. Keeping it real, the money and work. You look up for figures like Kendrick and Joe. And look at the biggest things in the world. The business will keep this industry afloat. So they could just get the benefits and all. So shit the lyrics, enough about spirit. We know that you're gifted to be the bitches. That's gonna give us one more back. And what's gonna be different about you when you complain about the same as it's making you passion you. It's the last, the kind of piano too. It was there, you know, I'm a rapper, but you're afraid to explore other avenues. Something's wrong with the singing wrong. But you know that hardship will be a difference. So to give it through what you've been before, get your singing for it. If you know when you're pen to be perfect, then you should know how to sound and what you is. Yeah, I'm gonna pretend to be versatile. And get over yourself. You know,
Yeah, so I mean, this album actually, Fable, it kind of like for me is like you're sifting out contradictions, and it reminds me of like a sense of double consciousness, but not of Du Bois's consciousness, because I feel like Du Bois's consciousness is like it's present, but you may not be aware of it being present. But when Bantu Biko speaks of like double consciousness, he uses his like double consciousness, in other words, is knowing a lie while living its contradiction. And I think like it stresses on the fact that even to have double consciousness, you have to be conscious of that fact. So bringing it to like the video we just watched, I know you have like a couple of lines, which is like, you look up to figures like Kendrick and Hove, but look at their biggest singles and you know the music, the business will keep this industry afloat, so Mecca just get the benefit and go. Switch up the lyrics, enough about spirit. We know that you are gifted, but you get bitches. You know, so I think here you are dealing with like contradictions, and if you can speak to like what's going on in this album, and yeah, what you are trying to drive at. Yeah.
That song I released, it was one of the first things I released, and it was almost supposed to be a disclaimer, like, I know I'm deep right now, guys, but if my pockets get empty, would you guys still go with me if I tried a different kind of music and a different kind of hip hop? If I focused on doing gold, units sold, and dumbed it down, would you roll? You know, so that was the questions I asked myself all the time as an artist, right? Like and you know, switch up the lyrics, enough about spirit, we know that you're gifted, but do you get bitches? For me, felt like, you know, I felt like people maybe would get tired of this thing that I was doing, and I would have to like switch it up to like I said, a certain type of music, and with the references of, you know, Kendrick and Hove, and their biggest singles, the most popular singles, the songs that have made them the most money, you know, are not the deepest of songs. You know what I mean? Or maybe they're deep, but it's like there's a certain layer over it that's very commercial, right? And so I just grapple with that, and you know, with the video, I wanted to sort of point out the contradiction of the messenger, of being like half in spirit, half in flesh, right? And rappers sort of having that messiah complex, like, you know, I'm the messenger, you know, I'm a messenger of the streets, I'm a messenger of God or whatever, but still living very much with booties in your face, you know. But yeah, but it's also like, because those things exist in human beings as well. I can wake up and the first thing I do is pray and then end up at the club at night. Both those things can exist in an artist, and both those things can exist in a human being. So it's not out of judgment. It's just like, was my life at the time, and I was sort of disclaiming to people like, yo, if I lean into this other thing that I have also in me, will you still love me? Yeah.
Yeah, in that case, she's also on another track that she'll take Head Over Healing. But anyways, but yeah, that was on Facebook though.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, moving on, like Kendrick and Hove. Yeah, we know that when Kendrick went to SA, it had this huge impact on him. So in what ways are we seeing like South African hip hop also impact like global hip hop?
South Africa is great, guys. I'm not just, I mean, maybe I'm a little biased, but I feel like, so much potential across all spheres, I mean, we're seeing the things that Amapiano is doing, but outside of that, I think hip hop having persevered since the 90s, and South Africans taking hip hop and making it their own and mixing it with Kwaito, which is South African genre, exclusively South African genre, and making a new form of hip hop, and other genres coming and going because they've done that, and hip hop still persevering, and having South African rappers come up to America and be on Sway in the Morning and killing it, and I feel like it's testament to how strong we are as a genre in South Africa. And I think that a lot of rappers come to South Africa and Africa in general and feel like they've connected to something, like something has finally made sense for them in terms of their identity, because that is the place where you arrive and 90% of the people look like you, right? So I understand why it gets to feeling like home, and of course Kendrick's got like a Zulu love, and so there's already like that connection. And I was saying, I think I was mentioning to someone earlier today, like growing up as I'm Zulu, but that's my culture, right? But there was an American hip hop crew called the Zulu Nation, right? And there was Africa Bambaataa. So the connection's been there for a very long time. It was just about physically then bridging the gap, and that's why it's important for me, hip hop conferences like this, where I can come up and sort of share the things that I'm doing. That's only part of the work, but it's such a big thing to do. Yeah.
And speaking of that, like, I mean, if you had to cast your eyes, let's say, to West Africa, are there any like artists you are looking at like collaborating with, working with, and also even in the West, are there any artists you are considering like working with?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, MI is incredibly talented. Lyrically, I love a lyricist. I'll work with a trapper, but I love a lyricist. So yeah, it's just like that's where my heart is, But yeah, I think I don't know if he's from West Africa. Sarkodie, is that?
Yeah, Sarkodie.
Sarkodie. Yeah, I love him as well.
Okay.
Who was? She was, I think, still making music. The one that had Kenny Big Deal. That was before your time. Okay. I'm 35, so my bad. But yeah, no, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, and how about the West too? Like if you cast your eyes to the US.
In the US?
Yeah.
I mean, I think Ruben Vincent is absolutely incredible. Not for a 24-year-old, to take nothing away from him, but it's that soul, he's got such an old soul, and he's so refined already. So that's a person with great potential. But in terms of my favorite rappers, love to work with Kendrick, obviously. I'd love to work with Absol, definitely. Hey man, Jay-Z, man. I hope he's not retired. That's my favorite rapper, man. But yeah, that's that's where they made me at. So those are sort of
Right, and I mean, there's a lot going on in the world right now, and once again, like W.B. Du Bois reminds us that all art is propaganda. So currently, like, what role do you feel like you occupy as an artist, and by extension, to other artists, considering everything that's going on around us in the world currently?
It's twofold for me because I understand music as a form of escapism as well.
Okay.
You know, a lot of people use music to get away from the things that are happening. And then a lot of people use music to connect to the things that are happening. So for my personal role, I always want to say something. I love to talk about myself, especially.
Okay.
So for me, my experience is a reflection of what's happening in society, as a reflection of what's happening in the world. That's more my purpose. Where it gets to escapism, I don't know how to make music that people can use to escape, because my job as an artist, I think, is to hold a mirror up to you, you know, and not to save you from anything.
I hear that.
You know?
Yeah. Thanks. I want us to talk about, you know, I mean, just watch another video. Yeah, you went twice that.
Don't stop war when they coming and empty your vault running. Spitting the raw venom of bars that ignore prison. You profile and pro-sign part of the LGBT community. Do you go by any pronouns?
She, her, that's just for convenience. What I mean is that how I really feel is far beyond human experience. But while I'm in this skin, what an honor to represent for those often shoved to the side because the stigma marginalized. Never planned to be an activist or fight for a cause. Deliver speeches, she's for cameras to the sound of applause. But if I walk into the room and make a big and eat their words, and let me do it for the heat, they she's a
Thinking that you're expressing your orientation, but here's a question. Why is it we never see no gay men rapping? I've never seen a gay guy rapping a rap session. Or could there be an unknown setting where this happens?
It's so taboo, cause rap rules require facade. Don't we have room to be you outside of being hard? But even I know that life goes a little different. Can't keep the door closed forever, cause gift
Cause in reality, you gotta be heard. Cause my punchlines and verbs, metaphors, similes, rhymes, packaging words. Be inclusive in rap, but not create scars. And not limit these gay bars and gay bars.
cause it's the same laws, governed by the same laws. Judge somebody based on their so-called sin just cause it ain't yours. The game was born cause the need for freedom to speak, and it still belongs to the people.
Thank you for coming through. You resemble a true writer, actor, fashionista, MC, and overall entertainer. Greater was no brainer. Be keeping you in our radar. This is the twice a show. Catch more flows later.
So one, I was like also really curious about, you know, maintaining that facade, you know, in the rap space. And I know you did a podcast also with Dr. Clark, whereby you talked about finding the truth in creative expression. So I'm wondering, like, you know, keeping up with the facade, how do you balance truth and then, you know, the facade in the rap game?
One thing that I had to be intentional about very early on is always showing up as myself. I've had a lot of conversations with execs who have asked me how they would sell me, who they would sell me to. Okay, can you dress like this? You know, it happens, right? And I think maybe that's part of the reason why I only started really rapping professionally in my 30s, because that's what I was dealing with my whole 20s, is people trying to change who I am as an artist. So I kind of like was disillusioned, and then I retreated because of that. So it's become very, very important to me every single day to show up as myself every time, because if I talk about activism within the hip hop space, that's the beginning of it. Me showing up is already the beginning of the activism before I say anything, right? So yeah, it's definitely important for me, and that's why I remember I had an interview recently where someone asked me, what message do you have for other female rappers out there? I said, there's not enough of us. Come join us. Doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter if you think people will want to hear what you have to say or like how you look, or it doesn't matter. There needs to be more of us, because us showing up is the very beginning of representation. It's the very beginning of activism. The rest will sort out later. Whether you can sell, you know, 1 million this or stream 1 million this, we'll sort that out later. That's not something we need to concern ourselves with, right? But if you love hip hop and if you want to do this thing, come, right? I've opened my doors to all collaboration. If it's something very close to my heart, if you're a female rapper and you have potential, I will give you a verse. I don't charge for it. You know what I mean? So I'm using my platform for that kind of change. You know?
Yeah, and on that also, Dr. Clark talks about how women enter hip hop, recognizing the use of hip hop culture as an important space for creating one's own narratives and for challenging existing narratives. But also interested in your response to paper cuts, whereby he wrote on Facebook that if Rouge and ZuluMecca were men, I think they would be more respected. The giants would be calling them legends and be acting like how they act when they see a Reese and Stojiti. I feel like Majita don't want to accept that those ladies, you know how South Africans do it. I can confidently say your list of your top 10 SA rappers of all time, at least 5 or 4, and that list cannot rap like Rouge and ZuluMecca.
Facts.
Yeah, I mean, what do you have to say? Like,
Facts. I can be humbled by a lot of things, but not the fact that I'm better than a lot of people that are far more famous than me. But this is where I have to take accountability also, because I did spend a lot of my 20s not releasing music. I have to take accountability for being slept on, right? I like someone, I don't know, I forgot whose quote it was, but if it's like, if I'm underestimated, I'm not working hard enough. So sometimes as artists, we also do have to take responsibility, and this is true. I 100% agree with it. But I also, I know I have to get people's attention actively, and maybe a huge part of my journey has been negatively affected because I haven't been doing it. Because I think people should just know I'm good. You should have, before you knew who I was, just know I'm good. So I have to take accountability also on my side, as much as I also can agree with the sentiment.
Gotcha. Yeah, and just last question or last two. One, we have like the rapid rise of like AI. What are you seeing as is like current and impact? Yeah, its current and future impact on your craft, and also how does your work interact with AI, if any? Oh, okay. Sorry, it's okay. So yeah, I mean, we are seeing the rapid rise of AI, so I'm wondering like, what's the impact of AI on our craft, and also how does our work, interact with AI, if any?
It was so disappointing to me when I started seeing those articles of like AI artists topping the charts.
Oh,
my heart was so sore. My heart was so sore because what do you mean? They're artists far more talented than a lot of people sitting at home because they don't have the opportunity or the resources or the equipment or the connections. And you're gonna let a machine take accolades and take credit and achievement from very real artists who pour their hearts and soul into this thing. Look, I'm not gonna pretend like I don't see that the future is heading in a particular direction, but I can also have feelings about it. And so if people are gonna do that, if labels are gonna do that for a quick, return on investment, it's very, very disappointing for me. But also, at the end of the day, if the world shuts down and all the technology shuts down, then real artists are going to rise above that. Not hoping for that, but I think that's that's making me feel a little better that this thing that I do actually can survive and outlive anything. Yeah.
So yeah, let's pass the mic to the audience too, and then let's invite questions, if any.
So, thank you. That was impressive stuff.
Thank you.
I know South Africa is a land of vast linguistic diversity. Do you ever rap in any other language?
Not yet. Not yet, because I mean, globally, I wanted to establish myself, in my message. I think that it is important to be able to express myself to my own people, and I can, because there's nothing I can't do. But I think, particularly because this is only my 5th year making music professionally, I wanted to establish myself firmly on a global scale and make sure as many people as possible understood what I have to say. And then sort of branch out from there. I think outside of the English language, my identity, as in my name and in my imagery and in my symbolism, stays very South African and stays very African. So I'm almost because of the things I rap about, I'm almost okay rapping exclusively in English, if that makes sense. Yeah. Anybody else?
Do you have an idea of like how you want to evolve as an artist, like a projection, like you're really spirituality, lyricism? Could you go the 3 steps or are you playing the flute into music? You have like a projection of like, okay, I've done this. This is some kind of for a goal.
I want to sing. If I could sing, it would be over for everybody. Rap, act, and sing? Are you kidding me? But yeah, I think being able to express yourself in that way also is just so beautiful and it's so moving. But I'll probably, that needs time and lessons and also I have to be willing to be bad at something at first. Because the thing that gets me stuck is I don't want to be bad at anything. I know I'm so good at rapping and I'm so good at acting that I almost don't want people to see me be bad at anything. So that's what that's gonna take, right? I'm gonna have to fail or publicly or falter publicly. But singing is definitely high on that list. So, and also I want to get into filmmaking. So I want to document the things that artists are doing. I'm working with my uncle on an initiative back home that provides certain rights and services to artists. Because a lot of the time artists don't have benefits, they don't have medical aid, they don't have any kind of insurance. So my uncle and I are working on something that protects artists like that, but I want to document those things as well, because I feel like it's important. So getting into the filmmaking space, absolutely, and I've had a great time watching films and short films, as part of this conference. So my mind is already starting to head in that direction.
Maybe just to add on the first comment about the language that you use. I'm from South Africa, and when hip hop started to emerge from underground in the early 2000s, I was very frustrated myself about because we were busy mainstreaming hip hop about the language and the style of rapping that we felt was too American. And I remember calling my friend in Senegal, DJ Awadi, of course, he's black soul, who's considered to be the pioneer, father of African hip hop, saying to him, what are we going to do about this? Because I would like to see this art form coming out of South Africa with a different flavor, different sound, and hooks. He said to me, my brother, but don't worry. When we started as rappers in West Africa, all we wanted to do first was to master the art of rapping. And it will come naturally that people, once they can rap and flow and all of that, they will start mixing. I mean, if you follow the West Africa, especially Garage and Positive Black, so they started using the chord, the gems, and then it started taking its own flavor. Then the world started getting interested because they were no longer interested in the words, but also the performative nature of the art form on stage. Because that is where hip hop starts to be mobile, especially coming from the continent. And Western audiences want to have some melody and sounds that has got those African influences, those indigenous sounds. My son went to stay in LA he's a good rapper. We lived in LA for 12 months, and how it happened was he went to the Revolt conference of PD in 2014. At the end of the conference, he jumped on stage and said, I'm not going to leave here without you hearing me. He dropped the 16. He stayed. PD's people mentored him and shot a video and then he stayed there. Then I said to him, listen, remember we are from Africa. Try and find some influences in what you do so that you can stand out. He just sent me one line. Dad, you're not going to turn me into a ladies' meet platinum house. I was like, okay, I'm done. But me, I mean, hearing ZuluMecca say she's only starting doing this in the third year, she's going to be in this game for 5 years. And I am still hoping that she will start experimenting with indigenous sounds that we have, Zulu and Xhosa, which is massive in terms of popular culture. And those hook lines that will be more with us. But in as far as the art form, I think she's the one.
Yeah, I have a follow-up to that. You know, South Africa has been the ones, like you branded hip-hop, like South African hip-hop. So what's that flavor of South African and South African hip-hop? What is it?
I think it's also regional, right?
Okay.
So we have a city called Pretoria in South Africa, and they have a specific brand of South African hip hop, just in the way they approach beats, in the way they make beats, right? The hip hop in Durban is in a particular way, so it's regional. So I would argue that Cape Town also has its very specific brand of hip hop, you know. I would argue that if someone wanted to know what South African hip hop was, I'd play them at least 5 songs. Gotcha. Right? Because it's a country that has taken hip hop and sort of regionally made it their own. So yeah, there isn't like one song that encapsulates all of it, because people always want to represent their own language and their own sound, their own tempo. There's faster hip hop, slower hip hop, and that's regional as well. You know how you approach that. So yeah, I'd play at least 5.
Yeah, I'll follow up for that playlist.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, but
Suggested something quick for me. East Africa, when Diddy Gritty Magic came out, 2002, 2003, from Kenya, with the song Unbothered, you could tell that was African. When Explasters in Tanzania, did the same thing. So, yes, we will come back and infuse who we are.
I would say, like, you know, Kendrick gets that same criticism. You know, there's a lot of artists that come from a regional place, you know, and they're expected to represent that pocket, you know, and I don't think he has to be like, I'm from Compton to represent Compton. You know, I look at your videos, it permeates, you know, it's obvious. And then when it's time, you know, like the last project, had Cali over at his time, you know what I'm saying, when he had the thing to say, because when you start talking about where you're from, it's deeply personal, and it requires a lot more of lived experience to say it how I want to say it. So I understand that concern, you know, musically speaking, but I think a lot of people get that criticism, and it's art at the end of the day. So it's like, however you got to put it out there, do it that way.
Yeah, let's take. Wait, do you have anybody else before? So let's.
Maybe a totally different topic, your fashion. Like, what does your fashion say about you?
Oh. Thank you so much.
Yeah, always on point, always.
Thank you so much. To be quite transparent, I don't decide what to wear. Like I said, I like to do things I'm good at, and I have a great team of people who are experts in this thing, and I let them have that vision. You know, I let them strategize that. Obviously, if, like I said, if I do feel uncomfortable in something, then I won't do it. I'll set that personal boundary. But I think that the people around me know me well enough that I'm able to just surrender to them and their work. But yeah, as far as the outfit for today, this is a South African designer called Sumo. So yeah, I told him I'm going overseas, man. Let's do something. You know, I gotta represent. But yeah, but thank you for it.
Yeah, we'll come back to you. Yeah, we'll come back to you.
Okay. So a follow-up question too, with regards to the language, but I noticed that you had like the ancient Egyptian mythology, and I know that South Africa is also a place, I haven't read some of Credo Luthor's works, of a lot of indigenous mythology there. Is there any times where you infuse like indigenous South African mythology into your records?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean that I don't know if you guys can see that thumbnail of Angels and Ancestors. That's my very first project. It's not even a full length project. It's just like freestyles that I put together and mixed very badly back in the day. But yeah, no, absolutely. Because I'm interested in ancient Egyptian mythology. I studied it in university, right? Because I think it's very interesting, and I like to have a connection spiritually, but also culturally between that and South African and Zulu culture in particular. But in that video for Food and Liquor with Stogie T, and also in the video for Good Gods, the headdress that I'm wearing, a lot of people think that it's Egyptian inspired, but it's a Zulu female headdress, right? And I like the fact that people get that confused because it gives me a chance to say, well, those are the similarities then, right? Because I mean, if you just look at the history of, you know, what is now the Zulu nation or most of South Africa and sort of the traveling down from higher up, you know, there's a lot of times where styles were mixed, you know, so I'm very interested in the very northern tip of Africa and the very southern tip of Africa and how similar they are, you know, yeah.
I have a question. Thank you. Nice to meet you. I met you the other time. I didn't even know you were a rapper, so I'm so excited. And she didn't tell me, Miranda, you didn't tell me on Friday. But I know all rap is political. It has a political side to it. Yes. And I haven't had you rap, but I'm sure you do have some political stuff that you talk about. Now, I'm thinking about the Tanzania situation. And I always get back with my Tanzanian brothers and sisters because I'm like, oh, sing about love too much. A lot of things going on in this world. And so my favorite rapper in Tanzania is Rosary. So given that, what do you have to say about the Tanzania situation? If somebody say, give me advice, to give them advice on what they should be rapping about right now, especially somebody like Rosary who's so powerful. I don't know if she does any political kind of rap, but I'm just thinking, you know, it's time. We need them.
I think rappers need to be angry enough, you know, and it's so strange because I had this conversation with my label, and I'm like, okay, how do we take my anger and make money off of it, guys? You know, but I think you need to just be so sick of things that that's all you can, that it just pours out of you, you know, and you just package it, send it out. So I think if people are in love, and then that's what they're going through at that point in time. But also it's an economic choice, right? Because everybody can relate to love. Everybody all over the world. So if I'm saying I want my music to reach as many people as possible with this thing that everybody knows about, maybe that's the decision making behind that. But absolutely, yeah, I just think it's an anger level. But also one of my favorite quotes is, the personal is political. So in those love songs, if I rap about love, it's political because then that's LGBTQ rights. Do you know what I mean? And there's that statement and that activism, even if it just sounds like I love my girl, I love my wife, you know. But that's the statement. So I think there's politics in everything, but yeah, it definitely does boil down to how angry rappers are at particular points in time.
And I think this, sorry, we'll come back to, you know, if we can go to this.
I'm still alive and that's a damn good start, but 8 happy people make good art. I never lie and that's a damn good start, but 8 happy people make good art. I'm still alive and that's a damn good start, but 8 happy people make good art. I never lie, and that's the damn good start for me. I'm a fucking walking paradox. A cannonball with tattered arms and tarot cards. My catalog of Sam God with the hand of God. No catchy songs, just jazzy chords and sad guitars. No flashy cars, no gas in my magic carpet. But here we are, I manifested it all. But do happy people make good art? Look, if I kneel at the river, I'm healed and delivered. Find peace and religion, will my genius begin to dwindle? I'm deep in some shit, but if I'm not dealing with issues, will my appeal and my influence be immaterial? If my material sweeter, if I ain't scared of these demons, if I'm not bearing my weakness, if I'm just wearing my ego, if I stop sharing my secrets, if you stop hearing the truth, if I'm not fragile and bruised, will you still care what I do? I mean, do happy people make good art? I'm still alive and that's a damn good start. But hey, do happy people make good art? I never lie and that's a damn good start. But hey, do happy people make good art? I'm still alive and that's a damn good start. But hey, do happy people make good art? I never lie and that's a damn good start for me. Maybe if I cry less, I'll live long. If I forgive God, I might fuck around and make a hit song. Maybe if I cater to the layman, then I'd be relatable and one day radio might get one. Would I be saving face if I replace Amazing Grace with something they would play? You think it ain't the same? If I don't play on tape and maybe chase the paper, think the validation would be fame? Well, hey, can I still be your favorite artist if I don't play you my heart? Will you still have faith in the gods if I'm a major star? If I was taking off and no longer pondered the ways of God, will you call me lazy and shake the bars? Filled with champagne and cars, remove the pain and loss, would you be gone? Oh, is that the kind of music you want? If I was okay, I might be more paid, but wait, are those the type of songs that'll live on? How long if I pass on? Do happy people make good art?
Right. Yeah. So I think we really connect, do happy people make good art?
No. I mean, that's open for debate, but it's one of my favorite questions that I've ever asked, like in my music. Because if you think about the music that has really moved you the most ever, and you think about where those artists were emotionally and mentally, were they happy? And is it possible to be okay and still make music that moves people, or do you have to be at your lowest in order to access that thing? Because a lot of the music that I have written before and that I'm still writing has come from those places, so I question it in myself. Like if I go to therapy, am I gonna lose this thing? If I fix myself, will it have a negative effect? Will I be less angry? And how does that affect the music? Questions that I have no answers to. I like to ask them.
Yeah, let's take like 2 more questions, Lisa.
Question for you is off topic.
Okay.
How did your Netflix collaboration come about? You talk about behind the scenes.
Oh, Netflix?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, okay, for context, because I'm also an actress, so I just, I just did a show on Netflix that came out. It's doing really well. It's #1 in South Africa and #3 globally. So, but yeah, as an actor, you just you go for an audition and you get the part or you don't get the part. So I went and I auditioned and I'm playing a bad guy, which is rare, guys. Don't let the tattoos fool you out. It's softy, But yeah, I had to channel that because it's in all of us, right? I had to channel that part of myself that doesn't mind, violence. So I went for the audition and I got the part, which is really great. Yeah, and we shot it a year ago, so Netflix usually takes a year for the things to come out, so it just came out a few days ago. Thank you. Cool. And that's it. Okay, thank you guys so much for coming. All right, see y'all at the cypher. Cool. Appreciate you so much.
Yeah, Mecca. My Uzi is arms written as soon as it starts singing. The music dissolve anyone weak and the strong. It's the spirit of Ra mixed with a clip in the Glock. Get you delivered to God quicker. The devil cannot kill me. I'll never be caught slipping, never to fall victim. I'm tethered to God. Listen, I'll never be lost. I'm the pip in the garden. I'm the scripture, the law, Mecca, the king and the pauper. I'm the sin in the song. My drums bring out the guns. My blues spit out the pews. My hymns fill up the clips. My riffs don't ever miss. My poem go for the dome. My pros know when it's on. My bop spin in the block. My bop. I'm a prophet, the alpha. I'm the rock of Gibraltar. I'm the lava top of the mountain, the cross at the altar. I'm the offering that honors Allah, the offspring. I'm the spawn born of a God too large to falter. I'm the culture. I'm the culture. I'm the culture. Yeah, I'm the culture. Yeah. I gave you prophecy, showed you the God in me. I gave you knowledge, gave you garden roots. I gave you Harlem streets, I gave you Carter 3. God MC, I gave you vaudeville and all the skill in my discography. I made you a crazy star. Saints inside him gave you arson. Raise your palms to spar, you nail your coffin. Don't box a God, I'm a martyr till they stop making crosses. My major losses been paid in pardon. I came and conquered. I ain't see shit but some lazy bars, so I played my offense. I had to have it. Word to my ancestors, magic. A master at it. Work to my hands, black and battered. My actual ammo is rap, acting, and alchemy, majesty. But will happily half-mast your flag. I'm the captain, the sultan. I'm a dragon amongst men. I don't battle my apathy, make you mad, that's enough. With these tablets of stone, acted alone like a monk. Built a chapel to stunt, but I'm as bad as I want. I'm the culture.